Bernigan. ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we discuss every B&L song from 7 to Y. And if you have sat yourself down and listened to every episode so far in one sitting, I'm guessing that you're really uncomfortable by now. You might want to go get those lesions checked. They don't look good, Greg. They really don't.
Preparation H, migraine for or Midol for cramps, whatever, Are we making everybody uncomfortable?
And thank you for joining me, Heidi.
We might be making folks uncomfortable.
Now sit right back and you'll hear a tale of...
A tale of a shiny trip.
Well, what is this week's song about? I'm not sure. Maybe Heidi and I can figure it out between the two of us this week.
Yeah.
Because this week...
Sure. Yeah, we'll try.
This week we're discussing the song Make Yourself Uncomfortable, which was supposed to be on In Flight, but never made it on. It's a song written by Ed Robertson, and if you haven't heard it before, here's a quick snippet.
Pull up a chair and make yourself uncomfortable. I'll always be there to make you feel alone.
And unfortunately, what this means is because it wasn't on the album, we have the lyrics, but they never did a track by track to tell us what this song is about. So we don't know.
Yeah. What the heck? No idea.
And this is like the one song that is like more quixotic than any other song I've ever read.
Yeah, it's definitely it's tough. It's like, I don't know. And I don't have a breakdown musically for it because I would have had to listen to it over and over and over and over again. And I didn't really want to do that. So.
Wow, I think you get an idea of how you feel about this song.
I actually like the song. I like the feel of it. I like the sound of it. But yeah, I just didn't get a chance to dig into it as much as I normally do, because it was so new to me because I didn't get the vinyl for this, which is just sad. I should have, and now I'm gonna have to order it, but just because I need to have it. But so I didn't do the normal rigmarole home because the only recording I had was the one that you sent. So.
Yes, and by the way, I had that because of Trevor Cox. Thank you, Trevor, for sending us.
Thank you, Trevor.
That's the
I
only
don't
way...
agree with anything that anyone's ever said about Trevor. I guess he's a great person.
He's an amazing person.
I just insane.
I was hoping he was actually going to be able to join us this week, but he wasn't, unfortunately, because I wanted to hear his thoughts on this song as well. But yeah, I know you couldn't do a breakdown, but I can talk a little bit about the music. Like, it's a very hard song, a hard rock song. You get those very hard drums, the harsh drums, the really harsh, distorted electronic guitar. You got the synth in the background adding to the wall of sound.
Yeah, I do like the sound of it. I really, really do. I think that lyrically it's very like stream of consciousness in a lot of ways to me. I'm trying to figure out what I kind of get, but I kind of get some of the lines, and I'm just trying to figure out where he was going.
Okay, I hope
or
you.
where
Okay,
he
good,
meant to
because
go.
my notes were, "What the fuck does this song mean?"
Well, I mean, so, listeners, dear listeners, so this, of course, is a bonus track, as we've already said, on an exclusive bonus track on In Flight on the vinyl. But so I'm going to do a dramatic reading. Pull up a chair and make yourself uncomfortable. I'll always be there to make you feel alone. I was prepared, had it down like a month ago, and then I got scared to do it on my own. So I'm wondering, like that opening, I'm like, okay, so I love the idea of, sparking conversations that are uncomfortable. We don't like to have uncomfortable conversations. A lot of people do not like confrontation, or they like at holidays, what do you don't talk politics, don't
Okay.
talk, whatever. So but there are some that are like, we need to have these conversations in order to move forward.
Oh.
You consider the current political climate, and you're like, okay, if we never talk about this, then how are we ever going to resolve it? Can we ever hit common ground and still be civil and respectful with differing opinions? And that is such a hard thing right now in our country. And I think that's it. We need to have hard conversations. And that I'll always be there to make you feel alone. I kind of think that's like, you kind of feel like, well, maybe I'm the only one that thinks that way. And, I still want to hear you. So I'll always be there, even though you're going to feel like you're the only one that feels the way you're feeling, because I have completely different opinions than you, or ideals, or whatever, um, than you.
But
Um,
I'll always be there
uh,
too.
I Right, I'll always be there. Uh, and you're not alone, but you might feel alone because we differ. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the wrong train here, but
No, I said
then
that's one of my
the
favorite
I was
Quicksonic
prepared,
lines.
had it down like a month ago, and then I got scared to do it on my own. So, I wonder if that's also related to that. Like, I knew everything I was going to say. I was like, okay, these are my talking points. These are the things I want to make sure you're hearing on my side, or what I
Hmm.
think about this particular issue or thing. But then I was like, well, I don't want to go head to head with you on this all by myself, because we're better if we have an army of people that feel the same way, and then
Ooh.
we can go after one person. It's like the
Oh.
Twitterverse, like,
I
or social media. If you are on your if you are the only one that is, or one of very few of this opinion, then you've got a myriad of people coming at you this way. So, because it's like, well, I've got all these people behind me that think the same thing. So it was easier, but I was scared to do it all by myself, because then I would actually have to have a conversation without everybody else chiming in. I don't know if I'm on that right, but I kind of like my interpretation of
I
this.
I like your
Um,
interpretation.
but then it's going to catch fire. I'm keeping it dry. So I'm wondering if he wants, because the conversation should catch fire, and you're keeping everything dry so that it will eventually spark conversation, because you don't want it to get muddled and muddy. Like your word, you want to make sure your words are clear, that your intentions are clear. So just like a fire, you have to keep everything dry in order for you to light a spark when you're ready to have the fire. Which is
Oh, see, I was taking that differently, but I along the same lines. I like that interpretation. I was taking it along the lines, given what you were saying, that I'm keeping it dry. I'm keeping the emotions low. I'm not going to put a lot into this in terms of emotionality. I'm going to keep it very dry and methodical, that so it doesn't catch fire. We're going to try to have this conversation. I'm always keeping it
I
dry
kind of
with
see
this
that.
conversation because I don't want it to burst out into flame.
But if you don't want it to burst into flame, you pour water on it.
Well, I think that's what he's saying with this song though.
You shut it
If
down. So I kind of see, like, you're just on the surface. You don't want to inflame the conversation to get out of hand. Maybe, I don't know. But I kind of see both of it.
But taking it from your point of view, because I see where you're coming from, and I like that because I have that kind of relationship with my brothers too, where I want to have these conversations, but it's going to flare up. and I have to be really careful. I have to keep it dry and factual going into it, so it doesn't, it's not emotional, and I'm not throwing oil and gas onto the fire, so it doesn't burst out and become this big thing. I
see that too. And then
keep it dry, and I'm always when I'm in a conversation with my brothers, I'm always keeping it dry.
I kind of like that side too. Like I kind of like both of our perspectives on it. And then that section of they're gonna get tired, they're gonna try. If they don't laugh, they're gonna cry. I'm always keeping it dry. And I think that's eventually the one side of the argument is just gonna be like, I just can't anymore. I can't convince you. I'm gonna keep trying, but I'm really tired of this conversation right now. So let's just agree to disagree, because I'm exhausted from trying to convince you. They're going to try to like keep it going. But if they don't start laughing about how insane it is that we can't agree on this or can't agree to disagree, then that's why you're keeping it dry, so that you don't blow it up beyond. I don't know. No, I kind of like that idea too. Yeah. So that's my take on that part.
Let's go to the second verse then. I like the second line, the first line of the second verse. Act like a man and make yourself be vulnerable, which is once again a paradox of what society thinks of as being a man. Going back up to the paradox of the first verse of pull up a chair and make yourself uncomfortable.
Right, because normally, pull up a chair, let's have a conversation. But we want to pull up a chair and have a real conversation, not surface like how's the weather. We want to dig into real topics and debate and discuss, instead of just saying, you're wrong, I'm right. Like that kind of thing. And I like that. Act like a man and make yourself be vulnerable, which means you need to put your shield down a bit and really hear what I'm saying from my side. And then I will hear what you're saying from your side. But we can't do it if we've got these massive walls up in front of us that are just like, no, I believe this and you're wrong. And it's not black and white.
Exactly.
And then to continue on to say taking a stand, you sometimes stand alone. That is absolutely evident. Like, again, in the age of social media, you could say one thing and you could have an army of people that are coming at you, or vice versa. You feel safer when you're like, well, all these people are going to agree with me. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. So that whole idea, if you take a stand, you sometimes do stand alone.
Yeah.
And we put people, because it's so easy every day on the news, there's, well, so-and-so said this. But if we are truly a country of free speech and the ability to have your own opinions, not hate speech, don't get me wrong there. But if you're like, a hard topic, abortion. It's a hard topic. Yeah. I mean, whatever side of the fence you're on, and can you be both? Can you believe that, in the women's right to choose, at the same time saying that maybe after 13 weeks it might not be? I mean, that's a tough conversation. Yeah. But me, who's had children and knows that feeling that after that first trimester, that's when it's more real and they're like, things are happening. And my child that was born a month early, I can't even imagine being able to abort my child at 35 weeks, which could be very legal in some places. So I have conflicting, but I also firmly believe in a woman's right to choose, but then there's that, but is there a line? Can we have a conversation with real evidence, not just pictures that are meant to inflame an opinion, and holding the Bible up as a reason? No. Let's have a real conversation. Let's really, if you've never had a child, you might not see it from my perspective. If you have, or if you've been assaulted, like I have had an abortion. I have. And it was a very hard decision for me to make, but those are those
Yeah.
conversations. And sometimes you feel like you're standing alone when you are like, well, I absolutely am firmly in my belief of
Mm-hmm.
this. And I might get hate mail because of what I'm saying right now, because I believe in a woman's right to
Mm-hmm.
choose. But then I'm like, well, what happens if the baby's 30 weeks old? Like, I don't
Well,
know.
and I think that goes
And
back
and it's
to.
also different for every woman too, but I think there's a lot. There's a lot to I hate the term unpack, but it's true. There's a lot to unpack.
Right.
And if you want to take a stand, a lot of times you're standing alone. Which is awful.
Oh, definitely. And of course you are. And even in those conversations, usually if you're having a one-on-one conversation, you are alone. Now, obviously the other person is too, but it feels very lonely in those moments to be having that conversation and to have to delve into things that maybe you haven't thought of before, and to approach that and to be flexible with your thinking and be allow yourself to not know the answers and be vulnerable. um
And you can learn something from somebody else too. I think the problem is we have so much vehement destruction in terms of conversational language in a way that we can't get past our own shit
mhm.
to actually have conversations, especially like, dare I say, some of the younger generation. I'm a Gen Xer. You're a Gen
Mhm.
Xer. We say what we feel most of the time within reason, but we tend to I think we still have a tendency to listen more to others, where as boomers we're much more black and white.
Mhm.
Like my first husband's mother was very much, it's black or white. There was no gray
Yeah.
area. She was very staunchly this
Mhm.
way, and there was no exception to the rule. And I'm like, but there's always an exception to the rule. There has to be. I mean, Kobayashi Maru this shit. Like, there's always another way. There's got to be. Or another, but also we don't care about somebody else's story. We only care about our own. And that's
It
dangerous,
is.
because my reasons uh for feeling a certain way about topics are very personal to me, because of the way we're brought up, because of our lived experiences, because of of our belief systems. And who am I to say to one of my dearest friends who's very a staunch Catholic, who has 8 kids, that, well, I also think I should be able to, have an abortion. And you're evil because you don't agree with me. She was raised, and she has a firm belief system.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean she's a nasty person
Right.
or an evil person. She's a loving, caring human being. But we can't get past that, Tracy, and that drives me crazy. Is we need to start listening more, and we need to stop this whole bullshit of putting a sticker on a card that's "be kind" when we're actually hateful human beings towards certain populations.
Yep.
And that's not okay either.
Yeah.
Just because my opinion differs from yours, instead of just sit down, pull up a chair, let's have a conversation. Because though we will never agree on this particular topic, this is why I feel this way. And you feel your way because, like, so we need to have those uncomfortable conversations, but nobody wants to. It's easier to hold up a sign or post a nasty post and have a bunch of people that agree with you tear down somebody than actually do it. So that goes to that. I was a fan, but never really wanted to rule the world. It wasn't the plan, but sometimes when in Rome, because we tend to do that. We don't want to be the cheerleader for some uh topic that
Yep.
is of some issue. We don't want to be that champion. But then
And if we're on this
when
topic,
you're in Rome and everybody else is doing it, okay, I guess I'm along for the ride.
well, and I was thinking that this means, like, these two sentences is Ed's becoming very personal in this song. Usually there's a piece where they pull it in and become very personal, and I feel like this is that point for him where he's saying, like, yeah, I had my beliefs and my thoughts about this topic. I was a fan, but I don't want to make the decisions for how the world runs. I don't want to rule the world.
Right.
But that wasn't the plan. It was never my spot that I wanted to be the person that was outspoken about this topic and was, inflamed about this topic. But I guess sometimes when you're thrown into that situation, then that's going to be what you take up.
Did you ever watch Shameless?
No.
I loved that series so much. So one of the sons, Ian, the redhead, one of my favorite characters. I loved Shameless. Lip was my favorite character, but the brother Ian, who was the redhead, and he went to prison. I can't remember why, but he was gay, and I think it was he somehow. I have to rewatch it all again. It's been several years since I watched all of the seasons, and he ended up he believed in the movement of gay rights and those things, but then they ended up putting him on like this pedestal, and he became the face of the movement that he never wanted to be. And it became so and it's right, that line gets me like that every time.
Maybe the song is about him.
If anybody's a fan of Shameless, because he was a fan of what they were doing, but he didn't want to rule it. It wasn't the plan. But then he was carried through it by all these people that supported him. So when in Rome, I guess I just kind of did it because everybody expected me to, and everybody else was in agreement. So, okay, I just did it anyway. So I kind of feel that we all get into that. Think about all of the, there are so much protests going on, especially right now with the Gaza, the war in Gaza, and watching interviews of so many that have no idea what they're protesting. Honestly, they really don't.
Right.
Like, one actually said, I have no idea why we're here. We were told to come down to this campus. Okay, so we're here. But why? Do you know what's going on? Do you know where it... No, I have no idea. Because they're kind of like, well, when in Rome...
It reminds me of that movie PCU with Jeremy Piven, where the cause heads.
That's one of our favorite movies ever, because those of us that were in college in the early 90s, that is so on point.
Oh yeah.
And we've watched it we had to buy it on DVD because you can't stream it anywhere. It's nowhere to be found. So we bought it on DVD PC. Because we loved it so much. It's not PC, but that's totally it. And how many of these events is just, well, I'm kind of going along because everybody else is doing it. But I tell my students all the time, I could give a flying fig Newton what side of any issue you are on, as long as you know why. Yeah. As long as you've done the research on your own, not because somebody told you what to think, but you have looked at as many sides of this issue as you possibly can. Not just one news network, not just one newspaper article, not just one fake stream on Facebook that is, it's not a real source, but you're going to go with it anyway. Not because your best friend told you, hey, look, we're going to get out of class. You have to know why. What's your why?
Yeah.
And if you don't, I will have no respect for you. If you have every reason on the planet, then okay, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I completely respect your opinion and your right to do this. But if you don't know why, I have no respect for you. If you're just going along with the fray, I know why I believe what I believe.
Now, I have a question for you,
and
Heidi.
And I think that's the problem.
Getting us onto the song, sorry. So then, would you call this next part a bridge? Maybe a miracle would put me in my place.
Well, he goes back to the "It's Gonna Catch Fire." Yes, I think that's more of a bridge section. Because I think
with the maybe a miracle would put me in my place. Is that a bridge? Because the "It's Gonna Catch Fire" is that I think that's the chorus.
Yeah. The maybe a miracle shifts a little bit there. I think it is the bridge.
Okay. Because there's another bridge coming up also. It's almost like it has two bridges to this song.
And I'm wondering if he means by there, like for example, if the whole topic was atheism versus a belief in a Christian God or whatever it is.
Which I could see it being a
So then
conversation
you're like,
in the
well,
Robertson household.
If God showed up on my doorstep right now, and handed me like whatever, then and caused my grandmother who can't see anymore to instantly see, maybe that would change my mind.
But
maybe that would put me in my place in this. I don't know. But what would a miracle...
But would I then scientifically come up with a reason?
But what would a miracle even be? Exactly. So maybe it was something completely different. Maybe it was karma. Maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe it was, there are so many things that we say, oh, it's a miracle. Or maybe it was medical science.
Right.
It's a miracle. Maybe it was, I don't know, the weather. I don't, I have a lot of questions. I have a great faith. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm religious as much as I have a great faith. And there's something out there that is greater than all of us. But I have attended church most of my life. I haven't frequently attended in a long time now, but I have served at my church in my community, and I have been on the diaconate committee, and I led the church choir for 15 years. But I grew up in the Salvation Army Church, which is baptized by fire. Hello. But I never would really, I think I always had too many questions, but even if a miracle happened, I would be going, okay, where's the magician? Like, is that really on fire? Like, what is?
Let me scientifically and logically come up with a way that this makes sense in a scientific world.
I mean, unless you're a flat earther, and then in that case, I'm like, dude, then I just
well,
can't
that brings us to
I really can't
to the next line.
Yeah.
So the next line is, we know it's spherical. We've seen it from space. So stop it with the conspiracy.
I don't have that. Where is it?
It's on the second picture. I sent two pictures.
Oh, jump to the late. Oh, I got it. Yeah, hold on.
And I said two bridges. I was wrong. It's one bridge.
Yeah,
it's an extended bridge. It's on two different pages.
Yeah. So that goes into his flat Earth song, basically, too.
Right.
Sometimes you can't, that's a line that I'm like, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Like, plain and simple. Granted, I'm a huge space historian and have been hugely impacted and fell in love with the Apollo missions and the Mercury 7, and have read and went to space camp and studied on those things as an adult. Because I even have my bobblehead that my son got me last year because he went to space camp and I went to space camp. Because it's no, the moon landing was not faked. No. I'm sorry, it wasn't. We know that the Earth is round. Somebody on Facebook the other day had a funny thing about if the Earth is flat, I think it's on the Dinosaurs Against Christians Against Dinosaurs Facebook page, which is hilarious, by the way. And so it was like, well, why aren't there field trips to the edge of the world then? You would think, okay, because it's not. Because you're stupid if you believe that. I'm sorry, that's a line I can't cross. It's like, I can even believe there are alternates to 2 + 2 = 4 because math is weird.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm if you put an X and a Q there, I'm sure you can get something
I used to, my major in college was math. And the whole point of math was to prove that 1 plus... There was a whole class I took where you actually had to prove that 1 was the first number, that 1 + 1 = 2, etc., etc. But you could manipulate it in a certain way with the laws to make it so that those laws did not actually always follow through. And quantum theory definitely takes it and brings it to a whole new level of, no, 2 + 2 does not always = 4.
Well, But that kind of leads to the end of that point is those people are so staunch in their idea that they are so fixed in that mindset that it's flat. It's Fled. That stop it with the conspiracy. It's like you can't have a regular conversation with them. You could show up pictures and it's faked. So
and that goes back to the
see where
first
you're saying
part
there.
of that.
It's gonna catch fire, keeping it dry because they're gonna eventually get tired and go to sleep. It's kind of like arguing with your kid to get them to go to bed at night. It's like you can try to delay it as much as possible, but you're still going to fall. You're going to end up getting tired and fall asleep on the floor because I'm just not going to play into your game. They're going to try. They're going to try. And if they're not, laughing about it, they're going to cry. I kind of, there are so many ways to take that, but I love that he ended with that. Sorry, go ahead.
That sentiment brings us back to the beginning of the bridge, which is every single conversation that you're having with people, both sides of the conversation, you have brought all of your experience of your life and all conversations and discussions that you've had prior to this and all knowledge into that discussion. So you are coming with tons and tons of experience and knowledge and are deeply avowed to that idea most of the time. Many people coming into that conversation, it's going to take a miracle to shift me from that position. But what would that miracle even be? It doesn't matter what the conversation is, whether it's flat earth or not. Everyone comes into that. And I think he's basically saying with that bridge, like, we need to be, it's kind of like the whole theme of Flip. We need to be open to having open-minded conversations. Let's stick to the facts and not get down the conspiracy hole. But at the same time, like, let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. Let's have a conversation. But again, it goes back to the very first line of pull up a chair, make yourself uncomfortable. Like, we need to have real conversations about real things. Flat Earth is not a real thing. That's not a conversation I'm willing to have because those people are just dumb. But when it comes to real people and real situations, then those are serious conversations. And maybe if we could get out of our own way more, we'd be able to find some kind of even ground where we could. I hate that politics and human issues have become such a divisive concept with just being human to each other. There are some people that just won't. I mean, if you're screaming at people that they should be sent to a gas chamber, or that you all deserve to die, or like really, that's horrifying to me.
Yeah.
That there are people that believe that populations are not worthy of surviving and existing. That is sickening. Now, granted, like, I have no patience for people that support terrorists. Like, I mean, because if Hamas decided to land in my backyard, you're talking to some heavy weaponry, because your entire goal is to kill me. So like, that scares me, because there are some organizations that just kill. And we see that everywhere, all over the world. We are a very privileged nation in so many ways here in the United States, because, I mean, though we have massive issues, I know that I can go to work. I can have a dress on without covering up, my neck, and not being stoned to death because I'm a learned and educated woman and independent and have my thoughts and feelings, like, that I can say on a podcast. That is amazing. And so many women all around the world do not have that luxury.
Right.
And I don't get me, like, it's not a luxury, but you'd think it would just be like, it's to be human.
Right.
But that would be a hard conversation to have with somebody who believes that all women should be subservient and, but then again, where's that other line of, that's my culture, that's how I was raised, that's what I also believe, that I should be subservient and not educated, but you're not educated, so you don't know. Because education is freedom. And with education comes knowledge about how things can be, and that's why I
And
so
more,
firmly believe in education
and even more
as
important,
the
like people are like, well, college
cure.
isn't the most important thing in the world. Like, not everyone needs to
No,
have college in order to go on. And I agree, but there are things
no,
that
I agree with that
a
100%.
college education does provide, even for people that don't end up using it directly, in that it makes you have to look at the world critically, and it gives you formal ways of approaching and thinking about things, and it causes you to actually have to question the assumptions that you have taken for granted most of your life.
Think for the most part that's true, and this is coming from somebody that now teaches at the college level. I think for the most part that is very, very true, and I encourage my students, especially in my American History through music class, where we deal with a lot of protest music, and we looked at the Kent State because we listened to Ohio, we broke it down, and we examined interviews from the Ohio Kent State project that Ohio State University put together, where they interviewed some of the National Guard that were there, okay, as well as students and professors and people that were right there that were friends. And I've read the book 13 Seconds, which is incredible, incredible accounts of what happened. And for those of you that don't know, look it up because it's a piece of history. Um,
Important piece.
but I told them, I'm like, you could just say, oh, they were all really bad guys. One of them was actually a student there most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, but most of those National Guardsmen were your age. So not all of them were horrifying
Right.
humans. Maybe Reed and all the craziness that was going on. Not that it was okay, not that it's condoned what happened to those four human beings, but it's like you also need to dig deeper than what the surface was, and the
Right.
surface takeaways
Same
are.
thing if you look at the Boston Massacre. The Boston Massacre,
Oh
when
yeah, heck yeah.
it's taught in the schools from a very specific point of view, but the British at that time had a very, if you take it from their point of view, like they were thrown into this really difficult situation where they were told not to fire, but someone just, like, it was getting into a riot, and someone threw a rock
Right,
at them, and someone fired, and then
right,
it was people reacting after that point, and no
exactly.
one was bad, no one was evil, no one came in with ill intent. Everyone wanted to go home that
Right,
night.
exactly. And but the problem is we all want our history out of a Cracker Jack box. We want it in a 20-second YouTube soundbite snippet instead of really digging in and learning about all the intricacies. And that's part of the issue with the educational system anyway today is it's all about the breadth instead of the depth. I would much rather go deeper into a subject than go give you as much information about as many things as possible, well, instead of really digging into events that then you transfer that knowledge to other things and you're like, oh, this is why they did this in World War II, and this is why, so but we don't do enough of that. We don't really, because we're so busy trying to get through so many things instead of really getting that thought. And that's why I
Mhm.
agree. I absolutely don't believe, and seeing this firsthand, teaching college for the last what almost decade, um, that we students, some are not built or meant to go to college, and that is okay,
Yeah.
and we need to make sure that is okay. And I'm putting my own job security at risk here, but no, some are built for trades. Some are built because they have a love of working with wood. Let that kid work with wood. Let that kid build something with their hands. Building is, but as far as being educated doesn't mean college. You can be highly intelligent and educated and not have gone on that higher ed
Oh,
route.
definitely.
And some of the smartest people I know are like that. But in terms of but education is freedom in that if you learn how to read and write and communicate and listen and hear and problem solve and cooperate, which in many countries women are not able to do legally. And in for why did we not educate slaves? We did not like to educate women.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that it wasn't until like the 40s and 50s that we started seeing the first women going to law school and med school and getting higher degrees? Because you were supposed to stay at home and you were supposed to raise the family. Because I mean, you think about Hidden Figures, these incredible mathematicians that were female and black that were leading the way for these huge scientific changes in the space program. Like, we need to do more. And that's why I don't know if the flat earther, to get back to the song, I don't know if they're just batshit crazy or they failed science class or they're just so I just don't get that because you can't be educated and real. Well, you can. It just depends on how you're educated.
Well, I think you can be educated, and some of them are very educated people, but they're coming from they have their blinders on and they have their glasses on that allow them to only see things through a certain filter. And it reminds me of a bumper sticker I saw today. Someone that had a lot of political bumper stickers on their car, but then they had this one bumper sticker on there with the Confederate flag that said, "If I had known, I would have picked my own cotton."
Oh dear.
And my natural instinct is to want to somehow pull that person over and have a conversation with them about, I want to know what brought them to that point in their life that they are so incredibly angry at the world, and you know, I want to help them to not be so angry at the world. And I think that's kind of what Ed is saying in this song. Like, if we all need to approach these conversations with kindness and openness, not that we're going to necessarily change our opinion, but we need to approach it from the point of view of, like, let's have a difficult conversation in a kind way so that way we can see the world become a better place.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a great way to end it tonight.
And that brings me to the trouble with Tracy.
100%. That what's the trouble?
You fucking know what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This is a banger. This, Ed, this is a banger. How did this not make it on the fucking album, Ed?
I agree, 150 gazillion %.
This should have been the first song that was released as a single off this album. This should have been the third song on the album, which is the sweet spot of the album.
Agreed.
I don't fucking get it.
I love this song. I like it. I think you're right. It's a banger. I'd love to hear. Have they played this live?
No.
Because they should.
Well, yeah.
They should. I like it. It's a rockin' tune. It's I really like it.
I don't understand why they don't love this song.
I absolutely agree with you that that this should be on the album and where it should be. Absolutely.
So let's give it some numbers. What do you think? Should we get how many miracles?
Yeah, let's go with let's go with that.
Miracles. Okay. How many miracles do you give this song?
Gosh, I really do like it. And I need to buy then the extended album too. I'm gonna give this 4.5. I really like this song. I like the way it makes me think. I like the way, I mean, we could be way off with our analysis here, but I kind of love that about this song, is I don't think we're that far off in some ways. And I think any song that really makes you think is a good thing. So I'm going to give it 4.5.
I agree with you. I think that your read on the song is absolutely correct. It is something that Ed has said in other songs like Flip and New Disaster. It is a theme that he kind of comes back to. we know that this album also is a lot about therapy, and him having dealt with therapy and dealing with family issues, and I could see how that also would fit with this song perfectly. Maybe he kept it off the album because it was too personal. I don't know, but given some of the other songs that are so personal, that doesn't quite make sense either to me. I came into this giving it a 4.5 without knowing what the song was and being like, I don't care that I don't know what the song is. But talking about this and coming up with that meaning and that understanding for me that works and really resonates, I'm giving this a 4.74.
I almost took it up to a 4.7. Yeah. What did I give it? 4.5? I think I'm going to up mine to a 4.7.
Okay.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like it a lot.
This is one of my favorites of all the new songs that they've written. Like, I really dig this song. And I'm really bummed that it did not make the album.
I know. I wonder if they'll, like, I'd love to hear another, like, songs you should, that should have been on the albums kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because Fog of Writing and
album.
Blacking Out, like, also, like, really great songs that didn't make the album for whatever reason.
Yeah, I like it. I think it should have been. It is a banger song. I really like it. Alrighty, so.
Well, next week, we're going to go from what I think should have been the lead single of this album, which is this song. We're going to go to what the lead song on this album, which is Love and
Love
Life.
and Life. I like this one very much. I do. Well,
I do enjoy Love and Life.
it's been fun. This is a great discussion on this
but
song.
we need to go home and we need to go love some life.
Yes, let's go Love and Life. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Go home and make yourself uncomfortable having some uncomfortable conversations.
I like that. I like that for you. I love that for you. All right. Have a great night.
It's gonna catch fire. Keeping it dry. They're gonna get tired. We're gonna try. If they don't laugh, they're gonna cry. I'm always keeping it dry.
Oh my Lanta. You're not even going to freaking believe this. Okay. This is a banger song, that you're absolutely right. The fact that it's not on the album. Okay. Take a look at this. Can you even believe this? What popped up? What popped up?
Nice. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. I say that all the time. Oh my God. Wait, what the hell?
Jeremy Piven's delivery of that line totally
yeah.
made it for me.
What was I, a sophomore, sophomore, junior in college when this came out? And like, this was like so my life. It was just bananas. But I say that all the time. Don't be that guy. But yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. So for those of you that can't see, we were just talking about PCU earlier, and of course I'm just like, I was scrolling through looking for something, and on my feed popped up a classic line from PCU.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie. Don't be that guy. Plus, Jeremy Piven was great in it. He had hair.